I'd like to open the panel discussion. Since Namsik has a little problem with himself, so has a brief sick leave, so please excuse him from the panel discussion. But hopefully he will join the dinner tonight together. So the topic of this panel discussion is building UK-Korea collaboration in quantum healthcare. So this is a little bit tricky and hard questions to address, but I think it's a kind of emerging field and transform technology of quantum computing and healthcare. We need a kind of open discussion and frank opinions on this issue. So to begin with, I'd like to invite Professor Kyoung. He is actually the part from industry and part from the academia. So he is going to give us a little talk about himself and the industry perspectives on quantum healthcare. Please.
Okay, today I have a very good time, get many ideas which can be applied for the industry. Actually, I'm working on computer-aided drug design. I'm working on this field for more than 30 years. So problem is every time I doing a simulation, some part of the computation cannot be solved with the classical computer. So that's the reason why I'm interested in quantum computing. Recently, I found that there are several quantum algorithms that can be applied for drug design, but problem is the only small portion can be solved with that kind of algorithm. Another important portion is the using how can we use the classical computer for support that. So I hope that not only quantum computer, but also hope to develop that kind of hybrid technology for industry. So I think in UK, they develop more hybrid technology for supporting the quantum computer. I hope that kind of technology can be transferred to our industry in Korea.
Excellent. So now, Julian, would you start off the discussion asking to the Korean speakers or?
Yes, to the Korean speakers, I'd be interested in hearing about what you think your particular strength is and how we can learn from the things that you do particularly well in Korea. What do you think your strength is? What do you think is your particular strength in Korea that in the UK we can learn from?
Special part?
Our strength.
Our strengths. Actually, in Korea, I think the computational chemistry and recently computational biology is very strong because our biological industry grow very fast, and also all the industry trying to introduce the computational technology for reduce the cost and time. So it's a very fast growing in computational technology in bioindustry, but it's hard to find out the quantum algorithm for apply some part which we cannot solve with the classical computer. For solving that, without the hybrid technology, we cannot introduce the quantum computer. So for that, I want to transfer the hybrid technology to the industry.
In my opinion, so we are quite strong at the biology itself. So there are many good biologists and bioindustry companies. So yes, Korea is quite good at. And then in quantum side, so we are relatively weaker. So we don't have that many manpower in quantum science. And yeah, so within the quantum science, it's my opinion. So we are quite good at some algorithms and then theory rather than the hardware part.
And also, forgive me if I've misunderstood, but I think one of your strengths as a country is around the way that you link computing with artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I think a lot of the presentations today have focused on the importance of AI and machine learning. So I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more about the way that you think that you have developed that capability.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, just just for your record, like it's not scripted. So actually, I was not, I didn't know what questions to expect. Yeah, it's a very tough question. Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's like a, it's not like a particular strength of. I'm not sure if I can say this is a particular strength of Korea, but at least like if I think about the strength of like my university, Yonsei University, at least in terms of quantum computing, we are definitely focusing a lot on developing algorithms and applications. So of course there are so many important questions, right? Quantum is very like nascent technology. There are so many like interesting open questions. But at the moment, of course, like Yonsei University, we have like long-term vision as well. But at least in the short term, like we are really like, putting our all workforce and putting a lot of weights on developing quantum algorithms. Developing new quantum algorithms and also thinking about like applications, like new applications. The ways to utilize existing quantum algorithms for new applications. And of course, like biology would be like biology and healthcare, there will be like very good applications that we would like to explore. And also, Professor Junseok just mentioned that we're not the first. We're a bit behind in terms of quantum, but also I think. One of the strengths of Korea is that we transform very quickly from the chaser to the leader. So we adapt very quickly. So although we started a bit later in this quantum field, I think we have great people, lots of like great talented students. So I think Korea will be able to really quickly catch up and lead the field.
Okay, let me ask the same question to Richard and Sergey. So what strengths can you bring to the collaboration between the UK and Korea?
What can UK bring? Is that what?
So what is your strength from UK side so you can bring to the collaboration?
Yeah, okay, so, the whole day we've been talking about all these applications and which are very specific and very important known applications. But I think it's worth making the point, which I don't think anybody has even hinted at, that none of the current quantum algorithms, not a single one of them was developed with any application in mind. They simply came out of pure blue skies research. And with the current flurry of activity in all these amazing results about emerging quantum computers, although a bit noisy and not that large, but, fantastic achievements, we seem to, perhaps temporarily at least, lost sight of the true source of strength for this whole subject, which is entirely new blue skies research, which will then, later on be, implemented in terms of applications. And there's just kind of abstract fundamental questions about what problems are amenable to quantum advantage, and because they're not all, that way, or how can we massage, like NP problems, we just want to pick out like the average typical case things rather than the worst case and so on. And just to understand those very fundamental complexity theoretic issues. And I think the UK has traditionally been very good at that sort of thing, in quantum computing we have David Deutsch, who's one of the earliest, most, you know, sort of creatively seminal people in the subject, and so on. And you know, I feel myself a bit dismayed to see around the world, especially in the United States and other places, many of who I regard as, you know, among the very best blue skies academics have been leaving academia and moving to, you know, orders of magnitude higher salaries in companies and so on. I mean, doing important things, but, you know, I think it's a mistake to neglect pure fundamental research. So I'm very happy to hear just now about Korea's input into new quantum algorithms and so on, because I think that's where the future's going to really lie. There's, you know, tremendous excitement now, but to me it's a bit short-sighted.
Great. So it sounds like the figuring out what problems to amenable to the quantum computing is like the starting point of a collaboration.
Yes. No, I think there's loads of opportunity, and also, you know, it's what the next generation of researchers does is going to be beyond what we can imagine now. I think all this talk is only about known things. And Korea, you know, I think it has a fantastically good education system in sort of mathematical inclined subjects and so on. So, you know, there's fantastic potential if they get excited about quantum computing, and events like this and the Yonsei computer and so on will surely, you know, excite their imaginations, you know, and that will be a fantastic thing for the next generation. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. What do you think of that again?
Thinking about slightly less abstract things, but I hope still important. One of the key advantages of the UK is that in the health sciences in particular is the existence of, you know, Wellcome Sanger Institute, and there are researchers there that work on, you know, fundamental basic building blocks of genomics research, and I found them to be profoundly, you know, inspiring and interesting when it comes to, you know, shaping my thinking about quantum algorithm development in this broad field of computational genomics and pangenomics in general. And they're also very, you know, formidable classical optimization people. So when you have your algorithm that has any promise, you know, you just they walk away, and then a few days later they come back with the fantastic classical algorithm. So it's always good to have this very, you know, powerful classical algorithmic powerhouse that stimulates and kind of narrows down the scope for quantum advantage, and pointing it to the direction where, you know, it genuinely, you know, where we should look for an advantage in such a broad field. Yeah, so having the kind of a one step back from commercial applications is very important, and that's what genuinely motivated me to engage in in this project, because long before you reap the benefits of personalized medicine, there are some, you know, fundamental questions that, you know, are abstracted away as string problems or some, you know, theoretical computer science problems that perhaps have very little to do at the beginning with genomics, but actually, you know, any progress in this abstract setting would translate into some genuine insights as to what can we do with real genomic data, because ultimately this is just strings, perhaps, you know, it's a rather narrow set of strings, but yeah.
So quantum healthcare, to me, it sounds like the far-fetching at this moment of time. So is there any low-hanging fruits we can, you know, take up or pick up? The thing is a specific area you think of the quantum can be readily available to solve the problem, like genome analysis. What advantage we have over the classical alignment of DNA sequence over then how quantum can help us to, you know, go beyond the classical sequence alignment? And what do you think? You know, what is your opinion on that?
So if I might, I think looking at the optimization problems and NP-hard for NP-hard problems in general, looking what kind of solutions quantum optimization algorithms provide is potentially very, you know, interesting, and often in biology, what stunned me as a scientist, often there's no ground truth, or perhaps it's given the current understanding and data that surrounds us. Maybe there's no way to assemble things in a perfect way. So, classical algorithms provide some approximation, but how good it is, it's perhaps it's not so good. And looking at quantum optimization landscape, I think there is some gain. There are some gains to be had. So we can get better in the near term, perhaps not so much, but in the midterm, we can get better answers that violate fewer constraints that biology imposes on the problem. And in general, these problems, they're quite weird from a theoretical computer science point of view, because they have constraints that you would not normally think about in an abstract setting. But biology provides us with, we don't get to pick. We look at how biology is, and we have to incorporate biological constraints and work with them. And this is where a lot of classical algorithms don't work so well, because they've been optimized for this generic setting. And there are some quantum formulations, these QUBO type formulations, that allow us to drip feed some of the biological significance to the problem, to reintroduce it and make it richer. And quantum optimization still works without obvious slowdown compared to classical algorithms. So I expect to see some advantage in this space. It doesn't mean that there may not be some amazing classical algorithm that solves this instance. We just haven't found it. So while we are still looking for it, why not use the next best thing, which is a quantum computer that would provide us a better quality solution. So there is that use case that is often overlooked when we think about worst case, average case performance. But there's some genuine advantage to be had there.
So before taking a question from the audience, let me just briefly ask the question to Sergey. So we actually experienced the SARS-CoV pandemic, and how fast we can sequence the SARS-CoV virus, and actually we end up with the, bringing up the vaccine against the SARS-CoV-2. So do you think we can expedite the time frame by using the quantum computing? Like a 100 days vaccine program is a kind of challenging issue, but how can the quantum can help them out?
So vaccine production is an immensely complex process, and kind of computational difficulty is perhaps one facet of it. So where quantum computing can really help is in problems that relate to phylogeny, trying to build the phylogenetic trees of this kind of sequences. Ultimately, it all reduces to computing maximum clique or independent set. This is sort of a theoretical computer science problems where you can expect some advantage in the future. Whether this will accelerate vaccine development, I'm not so sure. But there are many other uses of phylogeny beyond that, especially when you try to look at cancerous mutations and various other things. You want to build the kind of the history of how this happened, what happened, and then perhaps do some predictive analysis into where things are heading.
Great. So now we entertain a couple of questions from the floor. Do you have any questions or comments? Then just raise your hand, please.
I personally have a question for Professor Josa. First of all, thank you for your great lecture at the beginning of the conference. It was really beneficial to me. And I am a graduate student in applied mathematics, and I'm practically interested in numerical PDE algorithms with quantum computers. As far as I have understood, when solving numerical equations with quantum computers, there exists some algorithms with exponential speedup, such as the HHL algorithm or the quantum phase estimation. But since those algorithms cannot be fully implemented in NISQ devices due to large error and technical limitations, we have some alternatives, such as the variational algorithms or anything else. So my question is, would it be better for us to focus on long-term algorithms that have specific benefits and quantum advantage, or should we focus on some alternatives such as variational ones while using classical optimizations and search for near-term advantage?
Yeah, thank you. That's an interesting question. Well, I think the answer is you have to do both, don't you? I mean, because you know, if we want to make good use of the emerging quantum computers that we're getting now, you do need to kind of get around phase estimation, as you rightly point out, needs a lot of quantum depth and so on. And you know, it was mentioned that Shor's factoring algorithm also uses phase estimation, although the original version doesn't, but it still has a lot of quantum depth. But there have been new variational algorithms to do that, which have much shallower quantum depth and don't require phase estimation. So, and similarly for these other problems, you know, you mentioned there's this whole framework now of variational quantum algorithms, which probably may well provide an avenue at least to explore for finding more near-term type algorithms. But ultimately, you know, we're just going to have to build better quantum computers and bigger ones and ones that are not as noisy. If this subject's really going to go very far, I think, even if we see some quantum advantage in these problems we've been talking about for healthcare, you know, we want to scale them up, don't we? We don't want them to just be limited to these little noisy machines, right? So we do need the longer term as well, and I think it's important not to neglect that, which was part of what I was saying before. And of course, I was saying all that because my own main research interests are in fundamental issues rather than short-term applications. So I hope people such as yourselves and people who follow you may take up some of those challenges.
Thank you for your response.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
No, so first of all, I'd like to thank all of our speakers and presenters today. And, oops, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I had one quick question. If I'm understanding correctly, you were saying that you're excited in the relatively near term about the optimization type use cases. So a few questions on that. Are you talking specifically in healthcare, or is that just in general for all of quantum computing?
I think there is real opportunity for general, some generic problem, not necessarily healthcare specific, but there are some results that show, you know, some advantage of QAOA, for example, over perhaps artificial constructed instances. But you know, there's still some recent work that shows that, you know, that there may be some edge. Of course, assuming well-functioning hardware in the limit. But yeah.
Right. Okay. Thanks. And on that, 2 days ago, the speaker from IBM was saying the way they saw it, the relatively near-term use cases, I think it was in like molecule simulation, and after that, maybe machine learning, and then finally after that, optimization. So kind of, I guess, a little bit the opposite ordering from what you're saying. So I'm curious why you're putting optimization as a more near-term than the way the IBM speaker was. You may not have seen that speech.
No, I haven't. But I guess maybe my near term is their midterm, for example. I don't know, and I don't work on chemistry type problems, not specifically. So I don't know any kind of pathway for advantage. But I'm trying to treat this from a more theoretical kind of perspective. Indeed, I think we need better devices to tackle this, especially the problems that have this combinatorial nature, where you're very sensitive to the precise answer. Whereas, you know, some problems you can get away with, you know, have decent approximation to your energy, for example. Whereas, you know, in some cases, especially when it comes to strings, you know, you have to be very precise. On that note, you know, sequencing nowadays is short sequences. When you limit yourself to kind of short strings, you're almost error-free. But if you want longer strings, which is what everyone is after, they still, you know, noisy. So you have 1 to 2% error in sequencing, in sort of Oxford Nanopore and other type of devices. So they're longer, but they are noisy. So in a sense, the problem itself often has noise. So maybe that's a kind of a discounting factor. So maybe we don't have to wait for the perfection on the quantum side. We have noisy classical data. However, just somewhat noisy. But yeah. So just to come back to your question in general, I think it's we'll have to wait and see. I don't think I have a good kind of idea of how things will develop, but I just want to see this happen.
Okay, thank you.
Can I quickly pick up on that question? So actually, you mentioned like these chemistry problems and machine learning problems. They're actually all optimization problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then, if I could ask one more question, what do you're talking about the optimization use cases? What do you think are the near and midterm highest value optimization use cases that you see?
Well, highest scientific value or commercial value?
I guess both.
For me, I mean, this highest scientific value would be our ability to address problems where classical algorithms, classical approximation techniques, heuristics, they fail miserably, and quantum computers provide, a little bit better quality solutions. So I'm looking forward to that. As far as commercial side of things, I think at this current stage, my research is deliberately sort of far removed from that, because we need to first, address more fundamental questions before we start, counting other things.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No, well, first of all, I'd just like to thank the speakers for what has been a hugely inspirational delivery of some of your research. And I hope that some of the younger people in the audience have been inspired to continue working in quantum applications for health and care. I think it is really great that we don't have anybody on the panel, with yourself excluded, who have come from a health and care background, but who are turning their expertise into areas that could really have an impact. I see that our countries have complementary strengths as well, so it would be really great if we could continue the conversation and think about ways that we could collaborate more. So thank you very much, everyone, the panel, for joining us today. And I'm going to pass over now to Jess, who's going to be giving some closing remarks.